Hello, welcome to my couch. My name is Laura, and I don't really know what this reading vlog is yet. I just know that I wanted to start one for the week as a means of distracting myself from the election, which if you saw my most recent video, you already know that I am feeling anxious. So I'm trying to distract myself. This is my new couch. You can't really tell the scope of it, but it is from Lovesac and I'm obsessed and I love it. That's the extent of that. The two books that are on my radar this week are The 5-Year Lie by Serena Bowen, which is one that I talked about when I bought it, that I remember a vague description of it, that like there was a text, like something happened and a bunch of text messages got lost, like there was a big like data situation. And then 5 years later, they start coming through and our protagonist is kind of dealing with finding out something with her text messages. I'm not describing it well, but from what I remember, it was really interesting, and I don't actually want a reminder, so I'm not reading the description of this, but I will put one up here for you guys because it sounded interesting, and I am a little... I don't want to like hype myself up too much and say that I'm good at guessing plot twists, but I have a tendency to guess them, and so the less I know about a thriller, the better. So I do want to read that. It is also one of my book club picks. The other book club pick is Ursula K. Le Guin, one of her middle grade novels. I don't remember what it is, but I do need to read that in the next like 2 weeks, I think. I forget when book club is, but that's okay. So like maybe that'll make an appearance, probably not, but maybe. And then the other one is Liane Moriarty's Here One Moment. And I have a very contentious relationship with Liane Moriarty, where I've read 4 of her books and I've only liked one of them. Like I viscerally hated 2 of them, which was The Husband's Secret and Apples Never Fall. I hated them both. I really loved Big Little Lies. I genuinely loved that. And then Nine Perfect Strangers was like, it was okay, but there was no tension for me because I feel like a lot of what should have been tense moments had all 9 narrators in the room. So nothing was gonna happen. But this one is about like a group is on a plane and then like someone starts reading fortunes and then they all start dying. That's a horrible way to describe that. Aside from a delay, there will be no problems. The flight will be smooth. It will land safely. Everyone who gets on the plane will get off, but almost all of them will be forever changed. Because on this ordinary short domestic flight, something extraordinary happens. People learn how and when they are going to die. For some, their deaths are far in the future, age 103, and they laugh. But for 6 passengers, the predicted deaths are not that far away. How do they know this? There were ostensibly more interesting people on the flight. The bride and groom, the jittery, possibly famous woman, the giant Hemsworth-esque guy who looks like an off-duty superhero, and the frazzled, gorgeous flight attendant. But none would become as famous as the Death Lady. Not a single passenger or crew member will later recall noticing her board the plane. She wasn't exceptionally old, young, rude, or polite. She wasn't drunk or nervous or pregnant. Her appearance and demeanor were unremarkable. But what she did on that flight was truly remarkable. A few months later, 1 passenger dies exactly as she predicted. Then 2 more passengers die. Again, as she said they would. Soon, no one is thinking this is simply an entertaining story at a cocktail party. If you were told you only had a certain amount of time left to live, would you do things differently? Or would you try to dodge your destiny? So my thing with Liane Moriarty is that her concepts seem really interesting and I always hate the execution. So I at least got this from the library and didn't spend money on it, which is perhaps the only saving grace I have for myself. And those are the 2 I'm trying to focus on this week. And if I end up hating Here One Moment, I'm probably gonna just like DNF it, throw it back at the library and pick up something else. And then we will talk about that when we get there. I don't have any audiobooks. I am thinking of starting an Alexis Henderson. I have one of them. The Year of the Witching, maybe. Is that Alexis Henderson? What do I have? Audible. Library. Oh, I did get the audiobook for The 5-Year Lie. Shows what I know. Yes, okay. I do have The Year of the Witching. I am really kind of in the vibe for old school witches after finishing Agatha All Along. So that is also kind of up on my list. I am debating listening to a book and playing more Pokemon, as is becoming tradition. But for now, we're not focusing on any of that. I'm over-explaining my plans for the week when I have none. I will see you guys later when I have an update. It's been a long week. And it's been a bad week. And I don't think that's a surprise to any of you. This has kind of been what I've been doing since Wednesday morning. On and off crying. It's been terrible, I'm not gonna lie. And I am still exhausted. Emotionally, physically, everything. I have so little energy, and I am devastated. The book updates. Oh god. I put down the Liane Moriarty after like one chapter, and I returned it to my library because the first chapter was like, this woman was unremarkable, no one remembered her, she wasn't old, she wasn't young, she wasn't fat, she wasn't thin, and that was like the writing of the first like 2 chapters, which I hated. But I was like, okay, let's just get into like the actual story, get past this crazy woman who predicts death, and then move on. And we got into I think it's like the 3rd chapter, and I was like, I'm not vibing. So I looked at the negative reviews, and I was like, okay, the people who hated this book are kind of saying the things that I was feeling, so it's just like, I'm not feeling this. So I put it down, got rid of it. I know I don't like Liane Moriarty. I need to just stop. I need to cut her out. She's not for me, and that's okay. And then I read The 5-Year Lie, which I finished last night, and it was okay. It was very evident to me, like I would have called it a debut. That's how it felt. And it wasn't her debut novel, but it was her debut thriller. She writes romance primarily. And while this is not heavy on the romance, which I appreciated because like thrillers typically don't need heavy romance, it doesn't usually work. And so I do think she got that part right. But the rest of it was so mediocre. Like, I don't think things came together super well. I did not really feel attached to any of the characters. I have a huge dislike of the Disney character names that were kind of everywhere. And I say this as a Disney adult adjacent. Like, I'm not quite like when people make fun of Disney adults, I'm not quite as bad, but like I'm close, and I own that. Like, I'm sure there are people who would call me a Disney adult, and maybe I'm just too poor to be a Disney adult. Like, maybe that's really where my line is. But I get it. Like, it's cringe, and I embrace that. But even as someone who loves the mouse for no reason, it was just like a little too much for me, and I couldn't get past it. So that was frustrating. And this whole book, the only reason any of this happens is because, like this, like, you know what it is. There was a blip in cell service. This is not well explained. That caused the entire country? This part could have been explained and I just don't remember it. But so much of the cell phone thing is not well described. They talked about in the radio, so bare minimum this like city. But I'm getting the vibe it might have been more than just the city. Maybe the state, maybe the country. There was some kind of issue and all like the cell tower or something did not deliver the text messages, and then they all of a sudden just like released on the same day 5 years later. So everyone's getting these random texts. And it's like, okay, you did not explain that well enough for me to buy into it. Well, you did. You did when it was one text message. But you're telling me all of these pivotal plot points, all those people were sending a text at the same time, the exact same minute, maybe second. I don't buy it because it was not a well-explained problem. The entire plot of this book would have never happened if that cell thing didn't happen, but we don't understand it. So that really frustrated me. Like, it was a cool concept. It was just not well executed. And I feel like the main character, Ariel, a lot of her motives feel more, now it's time for me to advance the plot, than human reaction. Like, she felt like she knew she was the main character of a story versus feeling like a real person. So I didn't love that. And none of the characters were particularly likable, but that's not a deal breaker. But my problem in this case is that they were boring. Like, I actually better with a character that I hate because I'm feeling something. Like, these people were just boring, and it shouldn't have been. The mysteries and like the stuff that was going, like, you could see what she wanted. Like, the mysteries that were in there had an interesting idea, like corrupt police work, surveillance states. Like, a lot of this stuff is an interesting idea. She just didn't get the right, there's just like something that's missing. And then my biggest problem, I think, with Ariel is she is the daughter of this mega rich CEO of this company that she works for. She's got money out the ass. Okay. Her family is loaded. And she works for this company. So she's also gainfully employed. She also has a side hustle, aka a hobby, of glass blowing that she's really good at and she can sell. So she's got a side business that makes money, or can make money. It's not really clear how often she sells her pieces, but she's capable of selling them. Like, that is canonically something she can do, has done. She has a job. And yet this girl cosplays being poor without any, like, valid reasoning. Because it'd be one thing, she hates her dad, right? But it's not like, oh, I will never take my dad's money, so I'm gonna, like, make it my own way, which would be completely valid. But she works for her dad. So it's not like she's not taking his money. She doesn't have a car, but she needs a car constantly, so she's continually borrowing cars. So I'm like, okay, but you have the means of getting a car. But then later she talks about, like, oh, I took this much money out of my bank account and that was all I had. Or, like, almost all I had. What do you mean that's all you have? You have no bills. Like, you live on your parents' property, so you're not paying rent. You don't have a car payment. Like, those are like the two biggest factors. So no matter how much money you're making at your job, all you have to pay for is food. And I guarantee your mom would feed you if you asked her to. And that, I mean, I get, like, as an adult, you wouldn't normally do that. But, like, you genuinely don't have to pay for shit. So why are you cosplaying like a poor person? It frustrated me because it didn't make any narrative sense. It would have made sense if she didn't work for the company. That's all she needed to do, not put Ariel there. But you needed Ariel to work for the company, or else the rest of the plot can't happen. You need her in that company. So I didn't like that. But I do think there's some good ideas. I would check her out again for a thriller. I wouldn't read her romance. I didn't like her writing enough. But I would check out another thriller just to see if she improves, because I do think she's got good ideas in her little nugget of a brain. That sounded mean. That's not what I meant. But yeah, so it's been a terrible week, and this reading vlog turned into me just sitting on my couch crying, so I didn't film anything. And it is Saturday. I might read another book. I haven't decided. I went on a binge purchase the other day, and I got a lot of books. So I might read one of those. I might not. If this is the end, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll have more energy and more positivity and hope in the next video. But I think we're all kind of feeling this vibe right now. So be kind to your heart. Take care of your people. We've got a long fight ahead of us.